welcome to your deep stretch class tonight. So this is going to be a slower class, a class that will be really great to do before you go to sleep. I will suggest that you have a pillow or some sort of bolster. So this is a yoga bolster. You can grab pillow or pillows. You can also grab a couch cushion. Whatever it is that you would like. We're going to be on the ground the whole time. So grab something like this. We're just going to get into a few nice comfy poses. This is going to be more of a restorative class. If you have a block or something like it, we're going to be using this to kind of like stack your feet on. So even if you have like books or something like that you can kind of like place your feet on, we're going to come into this stretch. So something where you can just set your feet. It can actually even be with some pillows or something too. So you can also have a blanket here if you'd like. And we're just going to go ahead and get started with a short breath practice here. So go ahead and come into a comfortable seat. I actually am going to sit up on my blanket because I like to have my hips a little bit over my knees. And elevating your hips above your knees just lengthens out your spine. So this is how we're going to get started. It's better to have your hips a little bit above your knees than your knees above your hips. So think about that. Just get really comfortable here. Plant your sits bones down into the surface that you're sitting on. So you have this energy pushing down, and now reach the crown of your head up towards the sky. Get length and space in your spine. Inhale, roll your shoulders up. Exhale, roll them back and down your spine. Let them hang long here. And then just breathe. Without changing the breath at all, just begin to notice how your body feels. Keeping the length and space in your spine the entire time. So really relax your arms, keep length. So you have these two energies, one going down, one going up. And then if it's helpful, starting from the top of your head, scan your body all the way down to your toes, just noticing anything that's present for you right now. Both in body and mind. Or energetically, maybe notice how you feel energy-wise. It's the end of the day, maybe you're kind of sleepy. I know I am. And then begin to notice your breath if you haven't already. And just begin to notice what the breath is doing without intentionally trying to breathe in any specific way. So maybe notice where you're breathing into the most. So maybe I breathe into my stomach and my diaphragm the most. That's where I notice the most movement. So maybe put hands on your chest and on your stomach to notice that, or maybe you already know. Good. And then inhale, fill up your belly, your ribs, your chest. Breathe into your upper back and your armpits all the way up to the back of your head. Really send the breath to those places and notice if you find anything opening up. Hold at the top for a few seconds and then exhale. Sigh it all out of your mouth. Hold at the bottom for a few seconds. We're going to do that again. Inhale, fill up belly, ribs, chest, all the way up to the top. Hold. Exhale. Let it all go and hold. We're going to do that 3 more times. Inhale, fill up belly, ribs, chest, armpits, collarbones, neck, back of the head. Hold. Notice if there's anything opening up for you. Exhale, let it all go. 2 more. Inhale. Same exact thing. Fill all the way up. See if you can get space in the upper back, the armpits, the neck, the back of the head. Hold. Exhale out of your mouth. Sigh it all out. Empty completely out and hold. We're going to do that 1 more time. Inhale, fill up belly, ribs, chest, armpits, collarbones, back of the neck, back of the head. Hold. Exhale, sigh it all out and hold. Good. Seal your lips and then begin to inhale and exhale just through your nose. And as you exhale through your nose, constrict the back of your throat slightly, making audible ocean wave noises with the breath for Ujjayi Pranayama, or ocean sounding breath. And cultivate a rhythm to this breath. And this is the rhythm that you'll have for the rest of the practice here. So imagine that you're on the beach and that you have ocean waves. You're recreating being on the beach and recreating the sound of those ocean waves. And always stay with your breath here. Maybe throughout this practice, since this is going to be a very sleepy practice, focus on your exhales. So make your exhales a little bit longer than your inhales. And exhaling stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system. Inhaling stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is responsible for fight or flight. Parasympathetic is responsible for rest and digest. And we want to rest and digest here. So the more we focus on our exhales and the more we make them a little bit longer, the more our body gets into this relaxed mode here. And this is what we want for this practice. So again, think about that as you're breathing throughout this entire practice. Focus on exhaling through your nose just a little bit longer than your inhales. Good. And then go ahead and just bring your chin to your chest and slowly, with your breath, just begin to look up and down. So on the inhale, look up. Exhale down. Good. And then begin to look from side to side. And then bring one ear to your shoulder and just hold it here. Maybe let the opposite shoulder get a little bit longer to get more of a stretch on that side of the neck. And then you can roll your chin to your chest if that feels good, and then roll the head to the other side. And again, if you want this to go a little bit deeper, you can reach those fingertips down the opposite shoulder here. And we're going to do that again. Go ahead and roll out to the side. Roll to the other side. As always, this is your practice, so if something doesn't feel good in your body, don't do it. And then do what does feel good. If there's a pose that you want to stay in longer, if you want to hold something that feels good and I move on, feel free to do that. You know, this is a home practice. You're at home, so you can always pause the video if you want to kind of hang out in a pose. Don't be afraid to do that. Good. Inhale all the way up. We're just going to roll out the shoulders here. Just a few rolls one direction and then the other direction. Good. Now we're going to come up off of whatever we're sitting on, come into a tabletop pose. So stack shoulders right over hands, right over wrists, hips right over knees, tuck your toes. You're going to inhale, melt your belly, lift your chin. Exhale, round the spine up and back. Cat pose. Inhale, melt your belly, tailbone goes up and points up, and then exhale, round into cat. Again, inhale, melt the belly, lift the chin. Exhale, round up and back for cat pose. Good. Go ahead and bring your spine to neutral. Inhale your right arm up to the sky. Exhale, reach underneath the left armpit. Reach as far as you can. Set the whole shape down for thread the needle. We'll be here for a few rounds of breath. Good. Inhale, slowly begin to make your way back up. And then inhale your left arm up to the sky. Exhale, reach underneath your right armpit. Reach, reach, reach as far as you can. Then set the whole shape down. This is one of my favorite poses for my upper back. Good. Inhale, go ahead and make your way back through center here. Now keeping your hips stacked right over your knees, or come up onto your fingertips like you're guarding cupcakes, and then walk your fingertips out just as far as you can. Maybe your chest hits the ground, maybe it doesn't. But try to melt your heart to the ground. Good. Inhale. Go ahead and make your way back up through center. And then we're just going to come on into a seat. You're going to extend your legs out long. Go ahead and snuggle your sits bones in here. You can have a slight bend in your knees here if you'd like. If you have a strap or a belt or a towel or something to help you with this, you can use it. But try to lengthen your spine up. Maybe reach up to the sky. And then exhale, you can fold forward over your knees. Maybe touch your toes. It's okay if that's not accessible. Just get this nice hamstring stretch. Forward folds are good to do before bed. And then just breathe here. Stay with that ocean sounding breath. Again, trying to make your exhales longer than your inhales. If you can touch your toes, maybe you pull your toes back and lift the heels up. Good, go ahead and let that go. Roll your way back up. And then from here, go ahead and come into cobbler's pose or butterfly pose, set to Bandhasana. And then, yeah, so bring the bottoms of your feet together. If you want to press down on your legs with your elbows, you can. Good. Now you have the option to stay here. If you want to take this or try this other stretch a little bit, just make it a little bit deeper, you can set your feet onto the block here. So it's kind of the same thing. You're setting your feet up, elevating them a little bit, and then folding forward. It just kind of makes this a little bit more nice and stretchy. Like, it feels really good in my body. Again, if it's not accessible to you at this time, that's totally fine. You also can try it, you know, with your feet out, like away from your hips more instead of in. That's also an option that might be more accessible for you to have your feet out a little bit more. So we're just going to stay here. Sometimes I like to put my hands underneath and grab around my block. Lay down, Moose. It's a nice shoulder stretch here too. Yoga with dogs. Good. Go ahead and make your way out of that. Now we're going to stretch out the outer hips a little bit. So bring one leg in the front. So you're bending both knees here. One is just parallel to the top of your mat, and then your back knee is kind of up inside the arch of your front foot. This is called deer pose or stag pose. You're going to inhale, lengthen your arms, lengthen the spine, and then slowly just begin to fold forward over this pose. So this is kind of a modified version of pigeon pose, king pigeon. In pigeon pose, my front leg would be like this, and then my back leg would be straight out. That's a little bit more intense, so it looks like this. That's king pigeon. If you want to go that far, that's fine. It's a little bit more of a stretch. If you want to go there in your body, go ahead. It's a great stretch. This is just a little bit more gentle. And this one is really nice when you walk your hands. If your right leg is forward, here, let me try this. If your right leg is forward, then it feels good to walk your hands over to the left. Like I feel that stretch all the way up from my right hip, if my right leg is forward, all the way up my side body, and it feels really, really good. I also feel it in the outer hip as well. Good. And just keep breathing into these poses here. Again, trying to focus on making your exhales longer. Good. Go ahead and make your way back up through center. And from here, I just want you to switch your legs. Again, if you want to come back into that more intense king pigeon pose, you're welcome to do that as well. Bring the back knee up into the arch of the front foot, and then go ahead. We're going to get long in our spine first, and then begin to hinge forward on the exhale. And if you want to kind of walk your hands from one side to the other, it might feel better in your body to walk to the other side. That's totally fine. Or you can spend a few breaths on one side and then on the other. Good. Just really breathe into the muscles you feel being stretched here. So really think about finding space with your breath. Like notice what you feel in your body and send the breath there. Good. Go ahead and make your way back in through center here. And now we're going to go to the hands and the feet and the hip flexors, and then we're going to go into our more restorative poses. So come back into tabletop pose, and I want you to point your fingertips towards you. And then I want you to just lean back, and maybe the heels of your hands come up off of the mat here. That's totally fine. This is going to stretch out the fascia in your hands all the way up your forearms through your fingers. And again, if this is really hurting you, if it's excruciating, then just be gentle or just don't come into this at all. Or you can just scoot your hands up or scoot them to where it's a little less intense. But it's still a great stretch for the fascia in your hands and in your arms. Good. Now from here, come onto your stomach. If my dog will let me here. You're going to place your hands underneath your elbows and you're going to press up into a cobra pose. Now, if this is too much, you can always come into Sphinx pose, which is having your elbows right underneath your shoulders and then pressing your elbows in and up. That's a modification if the cobra pose is too much of a back bend. Otherwise, just come into cobra here. Make sure your legs are extended out long. Put your legs on your dogs. He didn't like that too much, so he moved. He likes to be on my yoga mat too. Good. Press your hands into the ground. Let this be active. You're not just like hanging out in this pose. You're actually trying to resist gravity here. So make your neck long. The crown of your head reaches up to the sky. Good. And then go ahead and press your way back into a child's pose for a few rounds of breath. Good. Go ahead and make your way up. Now we're going to stretch out the fascia in our feet. So tuck your toes, sit back onto your heels. You're going to clasp your hands behind your back, chase the floor with your fingers, press your chest forward. And then you can do whatever you want with your head. You can keep your gaze straight forward if you'd like. If it feels good in your neck to look from side to side, you could do that. I know that feels good in my neck. Or to look up and down. So if you need to modify this, let me scoot up a little bit more so you can see. If you need to modify this, tucking your toes, you can place your knees up onto a block or pillows if you want to. This gets pretty intense pretty quick. So if you're feeling it and if it's really uncomfortable, that's normal. But stretching out the bottoms of your feet like this, all this connective tissue is so good for your feet. It's so good to stretch all this out. Couple more rounds of breath here. Good. Go ahead and let it go. You can slap out the tops of your feet. Little counter stretch here. You can even, if it feels good, plant your hands behind you and lift up your knees. That stretches out the whole top of your foot in front of your ankle. Again, if that does not feel good in your body, then don't go into it, obviously. Your body will tell you to stop, and you probably will. Good. So let's come out of that. And then we're going to go into our bolster poses. So I'm going to lay the bolster down here. And then what you're going to actually do is you're going to come onto bridge pose. So bring the bolster or your pillows onto the middle of your mat. And you're going to sit in the middle of the pillow. And what I want you to do is come all the way down so that I'm going to show it to you this way. So now that your shoulders are going to be on the mat and your hips are going to be up. So this is a supported, this is Septu Bandhasana. I thought I got it wrong earlier. This is Septu Bandhasana or bridge pose. This is a supported bridge pose. It's more restorative since our hips are sitting up onto a prop. So just my head and my shoulders are on the mat right now. And I'm just sinking into this pose. We're just going to breathe here for a few rounds of breath. You can close your eyes if you'd like. And again, these really restorative poses here at the end, you can hold these for as long as you'd like. let your body sink and melt and just focus on your breathing. It's these restorative classes and in the deeper stretch, slower classes here where you can really focus on your breath. Good, and then from here, slowly just begin to lift your legs up into the air. Come into a little inversion here. Getting the energy flowing in the opposite direction here. This is a really good pose if you have headaches or if you just want to de-stress and just calm down. This is an awesome pose for that. You can also do this with your legs up the wall as well. We're just kind of balancing and letting our legs be long up into the air, but if you want to do this against a wall, it's just as effective. You can also roll out your ankles if you want to. Here's some crackle and pop in there. And spread out your toes and wiggle your toes. That might feel good too after the fascia foot stretch that we just did. Toes pose. Good. Go ahead and bend your knees, plant your feet, and then you can just roll off of this, or you can lift your butt up and scoot the bolster out. Just do it safely and comfortably. Good. And then what we are going to do is come into a twist. So you're going to bring the bolster up, bring your right hip up against the bolster like this. And then what you're going to do is bring your chest down onto the bolster and lay your head down onto the bolster. I have my arms wrapped around the top of the bolster. And I shift around so you guys can see me a little more. And then you can have your knees stacked on top of each other if you want. Or you can have them in stag pose or deer pose like we did before. I find this more comfortable in my body. And you can either be like this, or if you want a deeper spinal twist, you can bring your head and look over the opposite direction. So if my knees are pointing to the left, my head is going to gaze to the right or lay down to the right. And this will just give you a cervical spine twist as well. If this doesn't feel good, then you can just land here. You even have the option if you want to elevate yourself a little bit more. You can stack pillows on top of each other. You can stack a blanket on top of a pillow. Sometimes this feels really nice. And just be here for several rounds of breath, just letting your body sink into this pose. This practice is even making my dog go to sleep. Good, staying with that breath. Are you still making your exhales longer than your inhales? Good. Slowly begin to come up out of that. Again, no rush. Take your time. And here we're just going to switch sides. So since I want to be facing you, I'm just going to switch my pillow to the other side. So now my left hip is up against the prop. I'm going to stag my legs, or you can stack them too. That's always an option. And then bring my belly down onto the props. And again, you can lay your head down this way, or if you want to look away from your knees, this will give you a more of a twist here through your cervical spine. And you can have your arms really wherever you want them. I find them to be more comfortable wrapped around the top of the prop, but really you can do whatever you want. You can just let them hang down next to your sides. Keep focusing on your breath. Good. Slowly begin to make your way out of that. I'm going to set my blanket that was on top of my bolster to the side. And then I'm going to scoot my butt up against the bolster. And this is one of my favorite poses. So there are options here. Right now I have my legs crossed. I like to do this with my feet together in butterfly pose. You can have your legs out long. You can have your feet out to the sides and have your knees together. Do whatever you want to do with your legs here. I just really like this stretch. And then you're gonna lay all the way back onto the bolster and let your arms come out long next to your sides. And then you can just play with where you want your arms. Sometimes it feels good to stretch them around the top of the bolster or the pillows again. You can also kind of make a snow angel with your arms and see if, you know, there's a spot in your chest and in the fronts of your shoulders that you need to just hang out in and get stretched out. Might feel good to kind of roll your head from side to side here. Good. I like to lay in this pose for a really long time. It's a really great pose. We have one more pose to do though. So you can either stay in that pose, or if you want to come into our last pose, this is where we are going to end. So you're going to bring your prop and put it underneath your knees as you lay down for Shavasana. So the prop's underneath my knees. You can also put it up underneath your feet too if you want your feet propped up. But a lot of people like to do this. If you have like a couch cushion, something that's more sturdy, you can even elevate it and put it on its side so that your knees are a little elevated. This feels really good. So this is where we're going to land. Of course, for your Shavasana, you choose how you want to land. You don't have to be here. You can be in the heart opener that we just did with the pillow underneath your back, or you can lose the props altogether. That's totally up to you. But in Shavasana, you're just going to let your body be heavy. We're going to take 3 big deep breaths here. So bring your right hand onto your belly and your left hand onto your heart. And these breaths are great to take before you go to sleep, especially if you have problems sleeping. These big 3-part breaths are awesome. So you're going to inhale, fill up your belly, ribs, chest, all the way up. And then exhale, sigh it all out. Let the exhale be longer though. So maybe breathe the inhale to the count of 4. 3, 2, 1, hold. Exhale maybe to the count of 5 or 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. Good, we'll do that again. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. And you don't necessarily have to stay with those exact numbers, just as long as the exhale is longer. You can go into a couple more of those if you want. I'd say 3 is good, or at least 3 for this practice, but you can keep that breath going, in your own practice. And then just let all the muscles in your body just relax, including your face, your eyebrows, your jaw. Let your body be really heavy here. And then just notice how you feel. This is the end of the cycle. It's the end of the practice. And then I would suggest that you stay here for as long as you'd like, at least 3 to 5 minutes. So as you are laying in your Shavasana, all comfy, I will say namaste here. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice tonight. I hope you sleep well. I hope you all stay healthy and have an awesome rest of your week. The light in me sees and honors the light inside of you. Namaste.